Yeah, I mean, regarding ultras, how long that it took? Because I've been following the progress pretty much on
Mhm.
since around a year I've been following. So, how long did it take around?
Well, 6 years, I think. It wasn't full time all the time, but the last 3 years were pretty much full time all the time. Yeah.
Nice,
So it takes
nice.
a long time to make video games.
Yeah, yeah. Even so, any game does take a lot of time. Um, like I mean, you made it from scratch. You made it from a lot of illustrations too, and that takes a lot of
Yeah,
time too. I mean, there's a lot of elements between the development of video games and around. I mean, I don't know if you don't know this game. It's called Fallout New Vegas. They had it kind of
right?
easy because it's made from another game and they had pre-made assets. It took like a year or so. So a lot of people take their time on video games, and
For
I
sure.
mean 6 years for a pretty well-made video game with a lot of detail, a lot of illustrations, a lot of programming going on. It's
Yeah.
actually it's actually a pretty good time window.
I mean, yeah, considering the size of it, sure. Somehow you kind of do it to yourself anyway. I mean, Hotline Miami took 6 months, the first one, so that was pretty easy. Another game I made called Kometen back in 2009 took 3 months, and both games performed pretty well. And like, but Ultras was, the 16th chapel that Michelangelo painted.
Yeah,
It took like 16 years or something. No, no, that's not true. It's the 16th chapel, and I think he worked on it for 8 years or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember. A long time anyway. So I guess it also depends on how you do it and how you want to do it. Like Ultros has a very meticulous style, so naturally it takes long to draw all these things. Um,
Yeah, I mean, and also comparing between engines that you can work on video games. Um,
mm,
I mean, some of them are easier, some of them are not. Um, and also taking in mind that the illustration for Ultras, you made them on digital, traditional, or both.
so I kind of started out drawing things by hand because I feel like it's easier to get ideas out on paper rather than Photoshop. Uh, so sort of started doing that just to get shapes and assets sort of quickly out of my head, and then pick the best ones and scan them and sort of redraw them in Photoshop, and render them in colors and like shades and highlights and all of that stuff, and then adding it to the game engine. But then that's just the first part. I mean, in the game engine, you can use all your assets in so many different ways. So it's almost like uh, you're creating your own sets of Lego pieces or Minecraft blocks or something
Yeah.
like that. And then you play around with those, and then you also can do a lot with like lighting and particle effects. And so there's like so many phases you go through. And like personally, for me, this was a very important project. So I spent a lot of time, almost like manically, OCDing about everything, which was probably not a good idea. I think I learned from this experience that I can be way more loose in my artistic approach.
Nah.
I mean, I saw the game and I thought it was amazing.
Mhm.
I really love the art style and everything. Um, and yeah, the amount of detail you use, it was like really exciting and it looked really fun.
So the amount of colors, yeah,
Yeah.
uh, that was a challenge for sure, because I wanted to see how many colors I could use together without it losing coherence or authenticity. Like, how far can you stretch the rubber band before it breaks?
Yeah, that's actually that actually comes up with a question that I forgot to come up with actually.
Mm,
Um, so here in art school that we are, and
yeah,
many other art schools in the world, there's a lot of concepts, exact concept of cohesion and colors. And when I saw
mm,
your artwork, I mean, they have a lot of color. They have
yeah,
even a lot of colors that a lot of teachers will consider to be not even complementary. They don't even look good together. And
mm,
I mean, a lot of things, including your work, they can prove that wrong. But it's kind of limiting at sometimes in art school when a lot of people that I've seen they're trying to look and do on their artworks the to kind of take the same path to
yeah.
make a lot of noise pretty much on their visual style, and they get pretty much taken down sometimes, and it's pretty kind of sad to look at honestly because
Mm.
I mean, a lot of people have succeeded, including you, when doing that. And I asked myself, why don't we succeed being in an art school and do this kind of like go through the same path of noise on visual noise?
Mm. Interesting question, dude. Like, I think first, before we talk about this, like, we need to show humility towards the teachers because it's hard to teach. And I understand that as a teacher, you might be sometimes derivative of the knowledge, also depending on what level people are, like the people you are teaching. But yes, that is actually my experience from art school as well. That it's somehow conformed nowadays. Um, Back in the day in Gothenburg, we have a famous art school called Valans konstskola, and they used to have teachers who encouraged their students to use as many colors as possible. So I think in Gothenburg, my hometown, we have a tradition of using colors. Um, and I feel like about the noise, like complementary colors is just a beginning to like give you an idea of how colors function. Once you sort of have a certain grasp on that, you can just play around with it. I mean, the nice thing about art is that there are no rules, like really, literally no rules. That's why I love it, because I hate rules, and that's why I love art, because there are no rules, so you can do whatever you want. The only thing that makes you a better artist is if you are in tune with your authentic self, and that you have a proper way of conveying that authenticity. Um, so whenever people ask me about my tricks or whatever, I honestly usually just say that, meditate upon yourself, try to be introspective, uh, learn about yourself and your passions, and find a good way to tell those stories, basically, in a way that compels to your inner essence. And don't be concerned with like rules or like complementary colors or whatever bullshit's out there.
Yeah.
Really.
That is so cool. Um, yeah, I can agree a lot with what you're saying. In my case, I don't use color. Everything I do is in black and white. It's like my comfort zone.
Mm,
And yeah, seeing your pieces in color kind of blew my mind. As I'm not used to that kind um, of things.
But you know what? Like, I used to only draw black and white as well, up until I was like 26 years old. No, 24. And then my dad's girlfriend at the time just casually asked me, "Why don't you use colors?" And I just, okay, I'll try. And it just opened up this door for me. Uh, and now I'm sort of like the color dude ever since. But I used to be completely black and white. So you, and I think that ties back into your authentic self. I mean, it's constantly changing, and it's always good to be open, keep your doors open for inspiration. So I don't know, maybe you start using colors one day, who knows? Or maybe you just stick to black and white. Or maybe I go back to black and white. You never know these things.
Yeah, it's true. It's like a process. I sometimes I want to try color, but I don't feel like I understand enough. So I start with the black and white, and then I finish it in black and white, and I don't want to touch color because I feel like I'm gonna ruin the piece. But
Mm.
yeah, you're right. I should try it.
My good friend, he always says try before you deny. So I try to use that myself. Um,
And
and
yeah,
sooner or later, you know if it will work or not.
yeah, and honestly, something that we personally in our school we come up across a lot, and a lot of our classmates have said I cannot do it because I don't know how, without
Mhm.
even trying before. One of our teachers, actually the one that we're doing the interview for, he's actually pushing us to do a lot of things that come out and push us out from our boundaries that we're scared of, because
Nice.
it's actually a fear. uh
Mm.
Us
Yeah.
people, the students, the art students, we have a fear to sometimes try a lot of new stuff, and this color usage on illustrations, that's one of our fears. I personally suffer of this fear too, because I used to do a lot of color too, but then I started trying black and white, and then I love the black and white, and then I'm trying
Mm.
to get back in color, and I'm like, what if I fuck up? What if it doesn't look good? And it's actually pretty recurrent.
But let's talk about the fear then. Like, why do you guys? Uh, what is the fear about? Is it just fear of failure, or what is it?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
In my case, I guess color is been really complicated. I don't know. It's like I see the color wheel and everything, and I get like overwhelmed by every little option I have.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so, like, first, I think a fear of um, failure is totally insane because um, all that matters is the here and now, and the choices we make in this moment, and it's better to base those choices on love and curiosity instead of fear and worry of what might happen. I always find, and also if you get overwhelmed, color, for example, maybe you're just not ready, and you don't have to if you don't want to. But I find that working with color has less to do with the mind or like the brain, and more to do with the heart or gut. So I never analyze my colors. I always try to go with a feeling instead. Like, does it feel right? And constantly try my way forward and make experiments in safe environments where I tell myself it doesn't matter what I'm going to do now. It doesn't matter if I fail or not. It's just for fun. It's like just fun and games. Um and when I do that, it becomes easier for me to like not be so fearful. And always learn something. It's almost like you should have fun making art. So if you have a fear of colors, for example, get a big canvas. This might be stupid, but get a big canvas and just like throw color at the canvas. Don't overthink it. Like, should I use red? Should I use green? Whatever. All of them. Just use all of them and throw colors around on a canvas, just to break through that initial sense of fear. Because it's the mind killer.
Yeah, you're right. You're actually pretty pretty right, pretty spot on, because I mean, us being in art school and actually having I mean anyone having any idea what art is, they know it's really free. They know it's really um heartfelt, how you describe it, like doing it with a heart. And I mean, it's pretty valid. I say when uh someone doesn't want to use something, some element, some technique on their artwork. We have something really implied on our teaching, in any other things. I mean, I don't really mean in inside of school, but also like influences, external
Mm,
influences from the world, like internet and commentary from other people. And mostly, I think, I don't know if my partner here can relate to that, but since we had like an early exposure to the internet, we had also an early exposure to arts, and that came up with a lot of rules in uh, doing that, like hand gesture of the little things, like rules, um, that
okay.
we actually felt intrigued or obligated to follow, since a lot of people are telling the same things, and they're telling you do this, and this is bad. And it's actually like a really hard spot to put someone on in early development of their art skills. And now then, that's actually bouncing back on one's artistic career and progress. For example, personally, I used to struggle a lot with that, those rules
Hmm.
that people have told me that, hey, you shouldn't do that because it looks really bad, or you shouldn't do that because it's kind of elitist and stuff like that. And yeah, I struggled around a couple of years because of that. And my art was kind of in standstill because of a lot of issues going on in the external world because of commentary, rules, etc. And when it started to just loosen up, it's it's way better. I mean, it's even therapeutic. I love it now. I used to be so stressed about it. I used to be so stressed on following these rules, on just hearing people all together sometimes. So yeah.
Do you feel the same way, Lisbeth?
Yes, I completely agree with what my partner is saying. I mean, with the aspect of the coming from the internet and the nerdy aspect, I got my inspiration mostly from Japanese artist Yonito.
Yeah.
So I get there my inspiration a lot. So that reflects a lot my black and white.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I love Yonito. And yeah, completely. You get like a perception of what you need to do by seeing the outside world and seeing everything
Yeah.
that's happening, and everything that your friends and everyone is doing. So yeah, you get this expectation of, yeah, you have to do this, you have to do this, but no, you have to do whatever your heart desires.
Exactly. Um, Inspiration is very good, though. So having role models like Junji Ito, or personally, I was very much into Hayao Miyazaki's manga Now Seek Out the Valley of the Wind when I was young, before he started making animated movies. And I had that feeling too, that my drawings needed to look like Hayao Miyazaki's drawings. Otherwise, I wasn't good enough. But then I read an interview with an old Marvel cartoonist called Jack Kirby. And he had been very famous. I don't know if you guys know about Jack Kirby, but he was very famous.
Yeah.
Great artist in comic book.
Sorry?
Great artist in comic book. I really know about Jack Kirby. I have my comic book face.
Yeah, he's great. Like, and his idea was that he was asked, like, why are you so successful? And he said, it's not because I'm the best drawer, because kids will read the magazines and they will see someone else's style and think I could never do that. But then they see my drawings, which are not as good, he says, and then they might get a feeling that perhaps I could draw that too. And I thought that was very humbling, and it got me thinking that, I mean, going back to the working on yourself, like finding the courage to be curious about yourself and all the possibilities that lies within. I mean, Junji Ito might just be the springboard. But what happens when you merge with Junji Ito, for example? Then something new happens. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this discussion goes into also copying art a little bit. That, in my experience, people seem very scared of copying other people's art. And there's a huge discussion about it. And like, I'm original and yada, yada. And I feel like that's very faulty and dangerous. And inspiration is like... inspiration is really about copying and stealing, but making it your own. Like the famous poet T.S. Eliot wrote, amateur poets borrow and mature poets steal. And what he meant by that, I think, is that if you only borrow something, if you only take it on a surface level, then you will only be a copycat. But if you actually do take it and make it your own, then something new can happen. Yeah. What was I going with this? But does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, it means a lot. Like, I totally understand what you're saying. It's like grabbing pieces of what you enjoy and making it your own.
Exactly.
And that's I think I'm doing that with the inspiration I get from Junji Ito, because I get a lot from the cross hatching he has, and
yes,
I get in my artwork. But I get my own like ideas, my own what do you say, my own concepts. But I get also that sense of horror and how do you say, surrealism it gets in his artwork.
So you're basically taking his subject matters and technique, you could say.
Mostly the technique. I really like the horror ambience it has.
Yeah.
So I do that too, but with my own like concepts and my own. I also do some personal that I influenced by my life. So yeah.
Cool. And what about you, Hot Pepper Hunter?
I'm sorry, this is my Gmail account. But yeah, um, yeah, I agree with Lisbeth, and seeing her artwork before, yeah, it does look like she drew inspiration from Junji Ito, but the elements and all the technique and so on, she mixed that up so well. And I personally love her artwork. It's so cool. And personally, I mean, my artworks have also been like, there been like a huge amalgamation of a lot of elements. I'm not really. I always had this paranoia of, oh my God, am I copying an artist and something like that. And but then that paranoia went out when I saw the concept of references. And when I
Yeah.
started exploring references and started exploring all these different options that I can do, and exactly the same thing that you guys said about grabbing something and then making it your own, twisting it and shaping it to be your own, and it's actually been really helpful and really nice, honestly. My work, I don't know where I draw inspiration visually from, but my work has been so inspired by so many others. I cannot even count or even tell who and how many people have inspired on. But right
Mm.
now, I think one of my main inspirations that I can think of is Lourdes Grobet. It's a Mexican photographer that um she explores registers, and she's been just a huge focus on the Mexican wrestling scene.
Mm.
And since I'm
So
concentrating my
lucha libre or
yeah, lucha libre, yeah. And since I'm concentrating my line of work on lucha libre, she's been a huge inspiration to do so. uh yeah, yeah, pretty much. And I don't really draw elements from her work directly, but
mm.
I do take her technique and twist it some place else. For example, I'm planning on taking pictures of people and luchadores and intervening the pictures that I take as to draw them masks to represent their struggle and their work,
Mm.
their fight, their lucha, pretty much.
Wow. Like, what's her name
It's
again?
Lourdes Grobet.
Lourdes. Uh, how do you spell her last name?
Grobet.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah, the lucha libre masks are very striking for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty
I've been
flashy.
inspired by yeah, I've been inspired by that myself with how it also like works into um, I feel like this is almost like what Marvel was doing with Spider-Man, but it's more sort of like embedded in culture. It's kind of like how superheroes should be, basically, in my
Um,
opinion.
Lucha is like the superhero of Mexico.
Ah, it is, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we
Wow.
have like El Santo, I can think of anyone else. Hot Pepper Hunter, help me please.
Yeah,
El
I know,
Santo.
I know a lot about the lucha libre. I'm a huge nerd about it. I'm sorry.
Uh,
There's actually a famous luchador from our place where we live in Nuevo León. It's called Blue Demon.
oh,
Um,
yes.
he's renowned. He's very renowned, and he's so cool. He's so famous. He had his golden age. He's long gone now, but he's such a huge legend, and Yeah, it's pretty much a huge inspiration that I see on other media. For example, Bane from Batman, he's
Mhm.
just directly using a luchador mask, and other elements in the media. It's actually pretty so. It's really cool to see that so often, that we feel really important to be noticed like that. Um,
Mhm.
and also that brings another question that
Mhm.
before going to that question, I want to ask you if do you feel comfortable with your camera off or your camera on?
I mean, I don't really care. I just felt like you guys were non-camera, so I was like, okay, that's what we're doing.
Oh no, I'm actually pretty shy to show my face.
Okay.
We want to ask you if you can turn your camera on, so when the
Mhm.
people see the recording, they can see you. They can see all the artwork in the background and that pretty mug. So going back to the topic, actually, to the Mexican inspiration,
Yep.
there's an artwork of yours from also you came up with it with the Banderier album.
Yeah.
um the illustration for Banderier, did that draw any inspiration on what we know of Mexican culture?
Uh, yes, but not solely upon that. I think I was very inspired by Alejandro Jodorowsky
Hmm.
and his movie El Topo. Uh, or rather, I was inspired by that sort of what would you say, Southern American occultism
Yeah,
and mysticism, but it's sort of jumbled up with uh, also ayahuasca culture,
yeah. And
uh, and sort of like the indigenous, the Maya Indians and stuff like that, and their views on life and death and all that stuff.
so you do mix a lot of elements from other cultures and your own. That's pretty cool, honestly. And there has been any other examples that you can think of that you have done the same?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think I can show
Yeah, please.
you back. So this is a, I think, yeah, this is a super early drawing I
Oh
did
yeah, I recognize it. Yeah.
uh, for one of my first album, "To Stop You Must Die," and I was very inspired by. Sorry if I pronounced this wrong, but Dios de la Muertes,
See, yeah.
El Día de la Muerte.
de la Muerte.
Yes. The one
Uh,
in the background, I see. It reminds me of the image of La Catrina. Do
uh,
you know? No, no, no. The one in the left. This one. The one
The
with the
one
wings.
below.
Yes. Yes, that
That
one.
one. Yeah.
um, oh, okay. Now I understand. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like the whole, um, like the Mexican side of Christianity, like with very much focus on like Maria and the Madonna and stuff like that. Uh,
Yes.
Yes.
that that sort of like iconographic. I've been very much inspired by it lately. Uh, um, I don't know why yet. That's why I'm exploring it.
I mean, it
Um,
does look pretty cool anyway. I mean, there is
And I can totally see the image of the Virgin Mary and the face. I can see a little bit of the skeleton, the Katrina.
yeah, she has a skeleton that sort of resembles a mask. No, a mask that resembles a skeleton a little bit. Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Uh, but I've been really into like skulls since the beginning for that reason. I think because I feel like in where I grew up in Sweden, our relationship to death is very unhealthy. I feel like we don't. It's only like we're still stuck, sort of like in the Christian adage of you have to like take care of this life, because if you don't, you'll end up in hell. And we're all scared of death, and it feels to me like, especially with the Dia de la Muerte,
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, how you're celebrating death, if I understood it right, and
Yeah, you're right.
with the sugar skulls and everything,
yeah,
and it feels like it's such an essential part of life. Like life is death and death is life, and we shouldn't be scared of death. We should like celebrate it, because without it, we wouldn't have life.
yeah, exactly. And that is actually a really good point and really good element to take on because I mean we're so accustomed to having that respect for death because I mean since it's really important it does take a lot of um, part of our culture to just accept it, to be saying, hey, it's natural, it's gonna happen, but then we gotta celebrate before and after.
Mm.
I love it. I personally, I always been loving it,
Yeah.
and I think personally, I don't know if I can talk for both of us, but for Lisbeth and I, and other Mexican artists. I mean, I can pretty much talk about a lot of people and most of our Mexican artists that I've seen. We all draw inspiration from that.
Mm. Because it's so deeply embedded in your culture, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's really implied on our lives and our culture. It's really present and really hard to just ignore. And it's amazing. I actually think it's really amazing. And
Yeah, you have something very special. I have to agree.
yeah,
Obviously, I've been stealing from it from like 20 years now. So
Yeah, I mean, losses impacts you, and it wants to for you to make art also. In my case, I inspire a lot from a loss that impacts a lot in my life. So death is like lingered. I think I'm using the word right in my artwork, and yeah, death is like uh, I don't know. I see it like it's gonna sound really like gothic, but it's beautiful.
I think so too.
It's
Uh, I think so too. It's not that you should glorify dying,
yes,
uh, but celebrate the duality of life and death.
it's like an appreciation.
Exactly. And because otherwise you end up with fear, and as we've been talking about fear, you know, fear is the mind killer. So that's cool. Um,
I mean, yeah, and I don't know if you know about I think it's Mayan, but the idea of the Mictlan.
the which one?
The Mictlan.
No, I don't think so.
it's it's
MC?
it's the undead world in our culture, pretty much.
Yes.
Oh, what did you call it? Sibalba?
Yeah, kind of. It's like a place where you go when you die, and it's like I think it's like 9 levels that you have to pass, and then at the end you get devoured by two entities, by two gods. I don't remember the names, but you became one with the universe, and I
So
think that's a beautiful concept that um, the Mexicans, the Mayans have created, and I think that's beautiful.
we're talking about this Sibalba now, right?
What is
It's
it,
the
Balba?
Xibalba,
Uh,
I think it's the god of the death in Mexican culture.
See, Balba. Ah,
or
ah.
what were you talking about, Lisbeth?
As the Mictlan.
Can
It's
you write it?
yes. Let me see. Um, um, uh, Here, Mictlan, like this.
Mitlan. Let's see, because it sounds very similar to what I've been into, Sibalba, which is sort of like a similar concept of the underworld.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, in the
but it's more
Mictlan,
like the spiritual side of the subconscious, maybe. Um,
yeah, yeah. In the Mictlan, you have to do like a process, so you will be rewarded with being part of the universe. So you have to do like the first one. If you've been good to dogs in your life, then the dogs let you cross a river, and in one you get devoured by a jaguar. So you get to be a skeleton, and then you get to go into a river, and then you float, and then two big gods eat you, and you become one with the universe. I really love like that.
Wow, they are so similar now. Like I looked it up, and is it Mictlan
Yes.
is Aztec mythology,
Oh yeah. Aztec.
and Xibalba is Mayan mythology, and it's basically the same story that they are telling. Wow, that's so cool. I really have to get into this Mictlan thing. I had no idea about this.
Yeah,
It sounds like a video game almost, right? It's like
yeah,
9 levels.
yeah.
Yeah, adapted as a video game would be really cool actually.
Uh,
Like it's kind of similar, a similar concept we have seen before. It's Dante's Inferno,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It,
exactly.
yeah, it's really cool.
But I feel like there's so much more to explore in that, because Dante's Inferno is like way after this,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, pretty much.
and it feels like that story is so different from this one. Um and also like Dante's Inferno is so much about like shame
Yeah,
also,
Yeah.
and I feel like those stories, Mictlan and Xibalba, is more empowering actually, and has more to do with introspection and sort of like spiritual growth,
yeah, exactly.
while Dante has to just, you fucked up in life, so now you have to suffer basically.
Yeah, pretty
It seems a
much.
little harsh to me.
That's very gothic.
Yeah, we can pretty much put it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, um, it's gonna be a really good reference from now on, I bet.
I mean, yeah, and also I think I don't remember really well, but in Mayan culture, in Aztec, I think some there are other places when you can go with if your death is like you die in as a warrior, you go to other place. If you was an infant, you go to other place. Like Greek also, I think the Greeks also worked with that concept.
Oh yeah, it's sort of like, not really, but it reminds me a little bit of like Norse mythology with the Valhalla.
Yeah,
Oh yes, I
yeah,
got them.
definitely.
Uh, uh, I mean, I haven't really thought personal. Now we're talking about death instead, but I haven't personally thought so much about. Uh, I mean, I feel like these are all mythologies and stories, but personally, like, I don't know where I would end up, and I feel like I don't want to know either. What about you guys?
I completely agree. I feel like death is a concept that we all humans and all I don't know everything that's alive is afraid of. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah,
like the question if you want to know how to die, how you die, or do you want to want when you're gonna die?
Or do you want to know what happens uh, after you've died?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think I'm sort of landing in an idea of, uh, again, talking about Jodorowsky, Alejandro Jodorowsky. I think he's from Chile. Uh, he said something about like, what is the goal of the life? Is to create to yourself a soul.
yeah, yeah,
So that's what we're doing also through art. We're trying to build ourselves a soul, and when we die, maybe that's when sort of like, I love the Hinduistic idea of yin and yang, life and death, that um, when you are dead, you are one with the Godhead, so you are infinite and you have all the knowledge and you're part of like the cosmic energy. And that gets boring after a while, because you know everything. You're like, all-knowing and everywhere at the same time. So then you want life, because life, it hurts. It's fun. You can die, like you can hurt yourself, and you have a body, and you can. It's like this. Uh, but there's also a lot of pain. So when you live, you experience all this pleasure, but also all this pain. So when you die, you're ready to go back to the Godhead and become one with eternity again. And thus the cycle continues.
Yeah, I mean, also, I don't know if this is the same, but the idea of reincarnation, this is what you're talking about?
No, it's not so much like you are reincarnated as yourself. It's more like you're always a part of eternity. It's just that while you're alive, a tiny part of eternity is within your body.
Okay, I see.
So when you go back to eternity and you grow tired of eternity again, it's not so much you coming back. Sort of like the idea of ayahuasca, how everything is connected and you are one with everything.
Okay. I like that idea a lot. I haven't thought of that in that perspective, but yeah, I feel like if I recommend it, I don't know, I want to be like a star,
Nice.
Yeah.
but I don't want to have like feelings or nothing. I just want to be like up there.
Maybe we are stars to begin with. I mean,
Maybe.
Maybe,
uh,
yeah.
like talking about astrology, like how when stars die, they explode, uh, and then their stardust scatters, and stardust lands on planets, and the stardust becomes minerals and life.
Yeah.
So
It's also
everything everything comes from the stars to begin with, anyway, I guess.
yeah, the idea of the Big Bang. That's like a star that exploded, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, do we actually know? But
I mean, not really, but it's like the biggest theory of how the universe came to existence.
yeah, how everything was a plank pressed surface there could possibly be, and then something happens and it just and then it expands and expands and expands.
I would like to
Yeah.
think it like that. I mean, aside from that, that sounds really cool. It's actually pretty logical in my opinion from what you said about the stardust and like starting new life. But at the end of the day, who knows exactly?
Yeah.
That's why art is so fun, I think, because we get to try to figure out life uh, while we're here, while doing art. I mean, you can do other things as well, but it feels like art has and I'm gonna talk very pro art here. Like, I think art has the most complete experience of life, uh, or sort of like being an artist, because you have to have your body and your mind together. Uh, like a scientist, for example, in my personal opinion, a scientist only knows their senses, not their soul. So it's very focused on analytics and pure knowledge. Whereas if you take care of your body, like I'm old now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm 40. So if I don't take care of my body now, it's harder for me to make the art that I want to make, because I might ache, or like I can't drink whatever I want and eat whatever I want, however I want. I need to exercise, because otherwise I end up like this. Uh, so I feel like art teaches me this fantastic balance between uh, mind and body. And it goes the other way. If I don't take care of my mind, my ideas will deteriorate and I will become crazy or insane instead.
I mean, yeah, you're so right in that case. yeah, I feel like yeah, we need to take care of ourselves to create art, and it's really important.
Yep,
If you don't feel well with yourself, you're not gonna do like the things that you want to do.
exactly.
In,
So we can't just sit at home and play video games all the time.
no, yeah, you're right.
I wish, but yeah, we have to make a lot of do with our time too. Yeah,
Get some
that actually brings a question that reminds me of the "To Stop You Must Die" artwork that you did and you showed us a couple of minutes back. How did that how did that evolve along with your concepts along the years?
uh, I think I invited psychedelics into it,
Yeah.
and I also invited my childhood love for Japanese culture into it as well. So I think I think that's what happened. It evolved like that. And now, as of late, I've been getting more into like classic art, like Gothic art. You were talking about Gothic before, like how death is beautiful and everything like that. So it seems like it's going full circle. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah. And how have you implemented these new concepts that you have found along the way? Have you had any trouble on implementing them, or has there any natural processes that you don't really struggle that much, or has been any that you even struggle a lot too?
it's always a struggle, I think. I mean, um, but I wouldn't actually, to be honest, I wouldn't say I've had real struggles with uh, my art per se, but I've had struggles uh, protecting my art and honoring the boundaries of my art. Uh, and if you are successful at something and you have a talent and you're good at something, there might be people along the way who want to take advantage of that. And I think for me, I did not take responsibility at all times for taking for like protecting my art, and ended up in situations that wasn't good for me as an individual. And my struggle was getting out of that and sort of rediscovering my authentic self again.
Okay. Have you encountered any of these issues recently?
While making this game, while making Ultros, because it was such a long project, and the project really had to do with self-discovery and spiritual growth. Uh, and yeah, there was some real struggles during that process for sure with these things.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. How much was the game long? I mean, the process of the game. How long it was? Like 6 years, right?
Yeah, 6 years.
That's like a lot of time put into the game. So all the time you're thinking about it. So and you are constantly in that aspect of working and right.
Yeah, constantly working. So, but uh, um, also sort of s- not losing sight of your authenticity while doing that, and doing it with big companies like Sony, for example, and having a lot of money involved. Like the budget with Ultras was pretty big for me, at least. Um and that can put pressure on you, and that pressure can create fear, as we talked about,
Mhm.
and that fear can uh, make you do choices out of fear of practicalities instead of love and curiosity towards your authentic self. Um, and then you can end up in like really weird situations. At least I did. Uh, I feel like I managed to maintain uh, my art to such an extent that it still is authentic inside the game, but on a personal level, I forgot to protect myself, I think. Yeah.
Okay. By yourself, you mean like your mind?
My what?
Your mind.
Uh, no. Yes, you could say my mind, but I would rather say my vad säger man? My gestalt. My mm, I don't have a good name for it. Like my personality, my true self, whatever. My
Um,
spirit, perhaps. But I think it's also good to go through that, to question yourself to such an extent that you don't. It's almost like dying, actually. It's sort of like an ego death. So you become so confused and unassured of yourself that your personality dissolves,
I see.
and then you have to put time and energy into sort of getting it back together. But then it's something new instead.
Like a rebirth.
Sure.
Mm.
Why
Back to
not?
the
Depends on how
mexicana.
you define river.
No, rebirth.
Oh yeah, yeah, rebirth. Yes, for sure. Rebirth. So reincarnation within life, maybe.
Yeah, in your own life, your own
Está en
existence. This
entrevista.
one. That's
Yes,
that's awesome. I love that.
it is. So art has really helped me during that process, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of going back to the topic of the Mictlan and the what you said before,
Sibaba.
the Xibalba. Yeah, yeah, with all of this, it's because it's actually a really cool topic to be hanging out on. But then I came up with another question right now. I remember you made a game too called Elle's Heartbreak, and
Hmm.
it was pretty cool. I got to play it a couple of times. But during the development of Elle's Heartbreak, did you find these issues too when around the same time that you were developing it, or
Uh, Not as much, actually. Um, that development was just as long, but easier. And I think it was partly because we were younger, but also we were doing it on our own. So there were no like investors, no big companies involved, nothing like that. So we set out to do something authentic, and we kept it a small group. And we just had a really good chemistry. Me and Erik Svedeng, who came up with the concept for the game, we just had a really good chemistry. And also Oscar Redelius, who also worked with me on Ultros, who made the music and sound for Ultros. He made some music and all of the sound work for El's Heartbreak. And we just had really good chemistry. And that helps too. When you work with people, I think it's important to have that good, almost like telepathic communication. Um, at least it helps.
yeah, it's pretty much connecting with your concepts, and we have that, like having similar concept with the other person, knowing what you guys do, and that brings up to more a more natural um process of everything.
Mm.
I mean,
Yes.
when you really clash on ideas and expressions with other people that don't agree with yours or don't have similar expressions of yours, they can go it can go both ways. I mean, it can
Mm.
really work out, or it can actually break everything that you have been working on. Have you
Yes.
have you encountered any clashes with people that you have worked on that have like a different pathway or so?
Yes, of course. Of course, I have. I think that happens in life all the time, uh, both on a personal level and on a professional level. But yes, of course. But as you said, sometimes that can be good. Like friction uh, can be good sometimes because you reassert yourself, you reassert yourself, you look at things from different angles, and it can really, if you pull through, it can be really beautiful and another sort of rebirth. Uh, but if you don't find a way through, it can be really devastating for sure. And it takes a lot of humility from both sides to get through something like that. Uh, and it can be really, really stressful, especially if you work with someone for a long time and you don't figure out what your issues are. Uh, so I think that's important. If you work with people and you start feeling friction, always talk about it and try to keep an open mind. I think it's very important because if you don't, it's not going to go away on its own, and then you're just going to have to deal with it later on with with larger repercussions. uh, yeah.
You're right. Lisbeth, are you want to say something about that?
Yeah, completely. Yes, I completely agree with what you're saying. I mean, like, you have to have a communication. If you don't have that power of the ability of speak, you are gonna have a lot of trouble, like, connecting with what you want to say and everything like that. In my case, I experience like that with that a lot. I struggle with speaking my mind. I am better now, but in the past, I got really how do you say, anxious and introverted. But yeah, it's mostly like a realization that you have to make friends and talk to the people that you want to collaborate with, and yeah, and sometimes you don't have the same ideas, but having different points of view directs what new processes and new things that you want to make.
Yeah, but it takes two to tango. So as long as you can only change, like work on yourself and change yourself, and if the other part is not willing to do that, um, you can, it's also okay to let people go,
Yeah.
uh, if that happens. I mean, if you have kids, it's a different story, I guess. I don't have kids, so I wouldn't know. Um, but yeah, I like how we're getting so deep with all the questions.
Yeah, it's I didn't expect this to go this way, but I'm really enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's my first time speaking English to someone that speaks how do you say, naturally the language.
Oh, thank you. I don't speak English naturally, though. I'm from Sweden, but I'm doing pretty okay. But you're good too. I mean, you both of you guys are really good at English, I must say.
Oh, thank you.
Um, I have to go soon.
Oh
Um,
yes, yes. It's been like mostly an hour long now, so
so I can do like 15 more minutes if that's cool.
yes, it's fine. Hot Pepper Hunter, do you have any other questions that you want to ask? Um,
He disappeared.
well, I want to give you a recommendation. You talk a lot about the concept of the death in Mexican culture, right?
Sorry, the what?
The death in Mexican culture. I want
Yes.
to recommend a movie.
Oh, go for it.
Oh yes, it's called Macario. I don't know if you have heard it.
Mac-
It's actually a really good one.
Oh, it's so good. I love it.
How do you spell that?
Let me put it in the chat. Oh,
Like that
great.
on the chat. It's
Yes.
amazing. It's actually
Mario.
one of the most beloved movies here in Mexico, and it
Oh,
was
it's from.
actually yeah, it was actually like the jealously of the movies back then internationally. It was so good that a lot of people were like, ah, why can't I do the same thing? Ah.
Wow.
I mean, it's like I think it's from like 1960. Yes,
Yeah.
1960, and it's like really well made. Still, the effects, the visual effects, and everything in the movie is in black and white, and it's very beautiful, and I recommend it a lot. If you want to talk more about the experience of the death in Mexican culture, because that movie talks about that a lot.
Wow. Then okay. Then I'm definitely gonna look this one up for sure. I'm looking at some stills and reading about it. Thank you so much for this tip. Actually, this is going to be awesome. You don't like in Sweden, in our side of the world, we don't really get much attention on movies like this from Mexican culture. So it's very appreciated. I sort of have to go out of my way to find find everything. Um,
I think it's on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube free.
but allow me to give you a tip back then. Uh, this is let's see. Let's see. Andrei Tarkovsky. And okay. Here we go. I think this is the one. Yeah. So it's a historical drama about an artist. So the movie is called Andrei Rublev. It's a Russian movie, but it's about like art and life and death. And I also recommend you watch it.
And it looks really good. I'm seeing the pictures, and it looks like I'm gonna like it a lot.
Yeah, it's great. All right. Do you have any other questions that you want to do before I go?
um, you, Lisbeth, do you have any questions?
No, I think I'm done. I think I'm ready said
Yeah,
everything that.
yeah. I think we can wrap it up if you want to.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, this has been pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah.
Talking personally. I mean, since I've been following your work for a long time, I was actually pretty nervous to be on this interview because I was like, oh man, I love this guy.
thank you.
Yeah, me too. I don't have many experiences with your art, but I loved a lot these past 2 days, and I really liked it. And yeah, I got really nervous too. I couldn't sleep.
Wow, thank you very much. But I'm just a crazy guy, so no need to be scared of me.
No, I mean, every artist is a crazy guy who has a lot of ideas and imagination. So
Yes, you guys will also end up crazy one day.
Yeah, I mean, we are actually. You see our work, and you'll be like, oh my god, yeah, yeah, they're right, they're crazy.
Yes, actually, that reminds me. You guys need to send me links or something to
Yeah,
your work in an email because I would love to see it.
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'll
Yes,
send you an email.
Yes, please do that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. This has been really cool, man. Really, I really appreciate your time. Hopefully we can do it in the future again, and we can explore many more stuff. Talking and exchanging ideas like we did right now. It was amazing, honestly.
yes,
If you have Instagram or something like that, you can always write me a message. I'm only on there like once or twice every week, but you can find me there. And if you want to just, I don't know, casually write me something or have a question or whatever.
Perfect, man. Perfect. Thank you so
yeah. But,
much.
thank you for your time, for giving us your time. I don't know if you're